समन्वितम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महद्भिर्यैमा पुरो विभु निर्मायश्येते यदमुषु पुरुष भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मका सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। श्रीकृष्ण शरणं शरणागतम् कथा अमृतं सततपीतम् भक्ति वेदांत मार्ग पंथनम सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन्न प्रसन्नम सर्वलोक ऋषिदेव जन्न प्रसन्नम।
Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Mataji. If everyone can please mute their mics, we'll continue with our session. So we continue with the discussion on the psychology behind Narad Muni's case to Nalkuver and Manigriva, on why he's putting them in a condition of daridra or poverty stricken. So we'll continue with text number 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. दरिद्रो निहरं स्तंभो मुक्त सर्व मदैरिहा कृचिरं यदृच्छयाप्नोति तद्धि तस्य परं तपः. Translation: A poverty-stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penance because he does not have the wealth to possess anything. Thus, his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of Providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego. Did we read this verse?
Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, please.
A saintly person voluntarily accepts a state of poverty just to become free from material bondage prestige. Many great kings left their pricelessly standard of living and went to the forest to practice austerity according to Vedic culture just to become purified. But if one who cannot voluntarily accept such austerity is put into a situation of poverty, he automatically must practice austerity. Austerity is good for everyone because it frees one from material conditions. Therefore, if one is very much proud of his material position, putting him into poverty is the best way to rectify his foolishness. Daridraya dosha guna rasi nasi. When a person is poverty stricken, naturally his false pride in aristocracy, wealth, education, and beauty is smashed, thus corrected. But he is in the right position for liberation.
Thank you. Thank you. So look at word to word. Daridraha, a poverty-stricken person, nir aham stambha, is automatically freed from false prestige. Mukta, liberated, sarva, all, madair iha, from false ego in this world. Kricharan, with great difficulty, yadrichaya apnoti, what he gains by chance of providence. So, sorry, Shantini Mataji, if you can mute yourself, please. So, yadrichaya apnoti, what he gains by chance from providence. So, this word yadrichaya is very important. Whatever comes out of its own accord by providence, if somehow or the other we can tune our life to live like that, then we are freed from various anxieties and time factor as well. Why? Because then we don't worry. We know that this is what is allotted to us. Then rather than trying to over endeavor to fight providence or fight fate, more time we can invest in Krishna consciousness. So one of the synonyms of parishrama or endeavoring is prayateta. And in that verse, we see Narad Muni saying that tasyaiva hetu prayateta kovida yad labhyate yad brahmata upra. Even by going to higher planets or lower planets, one does not get Krishna consciousness. Therefore, whatever condition of life one may be in, he should endeavor for that end which cannot be attained by going higher or lower, and that is Krishna conscious. So he should endeavor to get Krishna consciousness. And when one does that, then he can actually elevate himself to a higher position of life. Now, here, of course, in the paper, we see that one who is poverty-stricken has to undergo tapasya or penance because poverty-stricken condition brings about difficulty in life. And we know that there are 4 pillars of religion: fruitfulness, austerity, mercy, and charity. Have I said it correctly? So there's satya, daya, tapa, and dana, yeah, charity. So, so when one does tapasya, automatically, he is extracting himself from sense gratification. So one who does not have much money, naturally, his external tendency for sense gratification is curbed, and somehow or the other, he has to come in terms with life that this is it, this much only I have. And when senses are curtailed from external engagements, then naturally one can concentrate more inwards. Therefore, it is very important that even those who have a lot of riches, they voluntarily, live as if they are poverty-stricken. This is what here nicely is mentioned. Many kings in their previous lives, when they were, very wealthy, they voluntarily left all that and practiced penance. They went to the forest. So whether we have riches, whether we have poverty, we are poverty-stricken, in either condition, tapasya is very important, because the more we give the body is never satisfied. Let's look at the next verse. Nityam shudshama dehasya daridrasyanna kangshinaha indriyani anususyanti himsapi vinivartate. Translation: always hungry, longing for sufficient food, a poverty-stricken man gradually becomes weaker and weaker. Having no extra potency, his senses are automatically pacified. A poverty-stricken man, therefore, is unable to perform harmful, envious activities. In other words, such a man automatically gains the results of austerities and penances adopted voluntarily by saintly persons. Anyone like to read the purport, please?
Can I read, Prabhu?
Yes, please go ahead.
Purport. According to the opinion of experienced medical practitioners, diabetes is a result of various voracious eating, and the tuberculosis is a disease of undereating. We should desire neither to be diabetic nor to be tubercular. Yavad artha prayojanam. We should eat frugally to keep the body fit for advancing in Krishna consciousness. As recommended elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasha nartho yascheha karmabhi. The real business of human life is to keep oneself fit for advancement in spiritual realization. Human life is not meant for making the sense unnecessarily strong so that one suffers from disease and one increases an envious fighting spirit. In this age of Kali, however, human civilization is so misled that people are unnecessarily increasing in economic development, and as a result, they are opening more and more slaughterhouses, liquor shops, and brothels. In this way, the whole civilization is being spoiled. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So again, we continue with the same theme. In one of the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Gramya Dharma Nivrittischa. So Gramya Dharma means that kind of religious activity or pseudo-religious activity that is based on competitive spirit between one man, another man, one family, another family. That has to be given up. And moksha dharma rati sada. One should always be attached to that kind of spiritual function which will elevate oneself from this material condition. Mitha svesa dhanam shastat. And one should eat very fragilely, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here. Not undereating, not overeating, just to maintain the body and soul together. So in this way, kamasya nendriya priti, if life's desires are not directed towards sense gratification, instead, labho jiveta yavata, one only desires a life of maintenance and self-preservation, then that saves one a lot of time. And what can that person do with that time? Jivasya tattva jignasa. He can quench his thirst to know the absolute truth. Tattva means truth, jignasa means thirst for truth. And jivasya, in this way he can live on. So we don't have to over-endeavor or overwork. We have to maintain our material situation in such a way that there is time that we can chant our 16 rounds. There is time that at least half an hour in the morning, like we are doing here, we can sit and study Srimad Bhagavatam. If we are not able to do these minimum things, then what is the worth of life? One day we will just bite the dust. And unknowingly, time will just overtake us. Before we know, we are 40, before we know, we are 50, before we know, we are 60. And when it dawns upon us, not much time is left. So the agency of our time, we should be very cognizant of our own mortality, that we cannot trust time. Our Guru Maharaj used to say, Nehi swase nahi vishwaso. I don't trust my breath. When this breath will stop? Kada ruddho bhavishyati. In future, when this breath will stop, I cannot trust it. Therefore, this is the time to invest as much as possible in Krishna conscious activity. Next verse, number 17. Daridrasyaiva yujyante sadhava samadarshinaha sadbihi shinoti tam tarsham tatra arad vishuddhyati. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with a saintly person, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and very things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Would anyone like to read the prayer, please?
I can read the Prabhupada. Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
It is said, Mahad Vichalanam Nirnam Grihanam Tina Chetasham, Bhagavatam 10.8.4. The only business of a saintly person or sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, is to preach Krishna consciousness. Sadhus, saintly persons, want to preach to both the poor and the rich, but the poor take more advantage of the sadhus' preaching than the rich do. A poor man receives sadhus very quickly, offers them obeisances, and tries to take advantage of their presence. Whereas a rich man keeps a big greyhound dog at his door so that no one can enter his house. He posts a sign saying, "Beware of dog," and avoids the association of saintly persons. Whereas a poor man keeps his door open for them and thus benefits by their association more than a rich man does. Because Narad Muni in his previous life was the poverty-stricken son of a maidservant, he got the association of saintly persons and later became the exalted Narad Muni. This was his actual experience. Therefore, he is now comparing the position of a poor man with that of a rich man.
Hare
Satam
Krishna.
prasangam.
If we can just stop there and you can continue,
Yeah.
because there's different points mentioned here. So we'll just look at this. So, Narad Muni in his previous life was a son of a maidservant. So he very well is experienced of the poverty condition. But despite the poverty condition, he had a good fortune of association of devotees. Now, it is mentioned in Ramayana as well that Nahi Daridrasam Dukha Jagamahi. In this world, there is no greater misery than being poverty-stricken. Now, poverty-stricken condition can be poverty in form of bodily disease, poverty in form of corrupt thoughts, negative thoughts, poverty in terms of income, not having enough wealth, which is the gross meaning of poverty, and poverty in form of not having right association or right companionship, and poverty in terms of not having right words or correct words or pleasing words. Some people open their mouth and you just wished, if only they could keep their mouth shut. So there's various degrees of poverties which actually hamper a person's progression and development. However, at the same tone, it is said, Santa Milan Sama Sukha Jagat Nahi. There is no greater happiness in this world than association of a devotee. So even if one is in poverty-stricken condition, if he has an opportunity somehow to associate with a sadhu, then actually he would have the greatest riches because the sadhu will give him the wealth of Krishna consciousness. And what is that wealth? Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Mataji, you can continue, please.
Sure. Satam prasangan mama vira samvido bhavanti karnarasayana katha tajjoshanat ash apavarga vartmani shraddharati bhaktiranu kramishyati. Bhagavatam 3.2525. If one gets the advantage of association with saintly persons, by their instructions, one becomes more and more purified of material desires. Krishna bahir mukha haye bhoga vancha hare nikatastha maya tare japatiya dhare. Prema vivarta. Material life means that one forgets Krishna and that one increases in one's desire for sense gratification. But if one receives the advantage of instructions from saintly persons and forgets the importance of material desires, one is automatically purified. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shikshashtaka, verse 1. Unless the core of a materialistic person's heart is purified, he cannot get rid of the pangs of Bhava Mahadavagni, the blazing fire of material existence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So again, in the last sentence of the purport, the punchline is there. Unless the core of a materialistic person's heart is purified, he cannot get rid of the pangs of Bhava Maha Davagni, the blazing fire of material existence. So when we actually have an opportunity to associate with a pure devotee of the Lord, then what happens is, despite our daridra condition, the greatest daridra is we don't have devotional service unto Krishna, and therefore actually we are not happy. But when we see a devotee, then we see that this devotee is so happy. I want to be happy like him. I remember when I first saw my spiritual master, I thought, despite his age, despite his health or lack of health condition, this person is so happy and he's so blissful. He's so positive in outlook of life, and he's distributing that happiness to everyone. So I want to be like him. So when we see actually a saintly person, we are not just seeing the gross body. We are actually seeing the disposition of that person, of how that person is interacting. And the greatest advantage, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport here by quoting this wonderful verse 3:25, Satam Prasangan, the opportunity to hear from a saintly person is what we should desire. Mamavirya Samvido, the transcendental activities of Krishna's pastime. What it is very pleasing. Bhavanti Hrit Karna Rasa Yana Katha. It is very pleasing to the heart and very pleasing to the ear. Of Krishna's pastimes is wonderful to the heart and the ear. Tadjoshanat Ashu Apavargya Vartmani. And what is the result? That such hearing of Krishna's pastime, Ashu means very quickly, it results in Apavargya Vartmani. It takes us beyond the mundane piety and the hellish condition of life. There are three vargas, it is said. There is Swarga and there is Narga. So in Swarga, the demigods also are always in anxiety, especially Indra. And in Narga, it is highly conditioned as it is. But hearing from a saintly person takes us beyond a higher plane, which is called Apavarga. Tad Joshanad Ashu, very quickly, Apavarga Vardmani. And three things happen when we associate with a saintly person. Shraddha, our faith in Krishna increases. Ratir, our attraction towards Krishna increases. And Bhaktir, our loving devotional service unto Krishna increases. Anukramishyasti, and this follows one after another. Faith increases, and followed by faith, our attraction to Krishna increases, and followed by our attraction to Krishna, our devotion unto Krishna increases. And this is the greatest boon. So it's better to be in poverty-stricken condition and have association of a devotee, because that devotee, despite our poverty-stricken condition, will give us the greatest wealth, which is the wealth of Krishna consciousness. And this is what Nal Kuber and Manigriv will be getting. And we also are very fortunate, that Srila Prabhupada gave us this wealth in form of Srimad Bhagavatam. As you know, today is, the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada. So in one way, it is a very sad occasion. We are bereft of, physical presence of our founder Acharya. And I was thinking this morning while chanting and meditating that only if Srila Prabhupada was here, probably, so many problems that we are facing in our society, we will not be facing. However, nonetheless, there is no cause for remorse, because we can take these challenges as an opportunity to deepen our relationship with Prabhupada by chanting the holy names of Krishna. And secondly, to directly we can associate with Srila Prabhupada by diving and burying our heads into his transcendental purports of Srimad Bhagavatam that we are trying to do every day in the morning. Some personal experiences. I'm told that when I was, 3 years of age, I have seen Srila Prabhupada in person. Prabhupada, when he came to Fiji, then my father was the chauffeur of Prabhupada, and also my family was, closely associated with the pioneers who formed the movement in Fiji, assisting Srila Prabhupada. However, I have no recollection of seeing Srila Prabhupada. Nonetheless, I can vouch that whatever little of Srila Prabhupada I've seen in Srimad Bhagavatam. Our Guru Maharaj used to say, if it was physically possible for Srila Prabhupada to rip his heart out from his chest and put it in Srimad Bhagavatam, he would have done it. But actually, all his ecstasies of realizations of love of Krishna, all his meditations of spiritual realizations, he actually has already put in Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, we can personally associate with Srila Prabhupada as if Prabhupada is speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the reason why this Srimad Bhagavatam is so potent. So, Prabhus and Matajis, there is no cause of remorse for us that we are bereft of Srila Prabhupada's association. We can actually feel personal presence of Srila Prabhupada in his transcendental purports of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Sanskrit verses, the word-to-word meditations that he has done. Any questions or comments, Prabhus or Matajis? So this evening, the program at Brisbane Bhakti Yoga will start at 5 o'clock. And we are very fortunate we'll be having association of Their Grace Gunarnavara Prabhu, who was the first temple president of ISKCON Vrindavan, and who under guidance of Srila Prabhupada, built the temple. I believe he was a builder stroke architect. And we had a good fortune of meeting Prabhuji a few years ago, and he has wonderful realizations. And who else better to hear about Srila Prabhupada from, Gunarnavara Prabhu and his good wife Vaishalini Mataji, who had a lot of association of Srila Prabhupada. And they were there when Srila Prabhupada was, departing for the spiritual world. And they will actually, tell us so that we can actually live that experience of that transcendental day. It's a day of sadness. However, it is the day of greatest bliss and pleasure and happiness as well for the disciple to see how the spiritual master leaves the body. So the spiritual master is a perfect human being. Srila Prabhupada was that. He, by his own examples, showed how to live and how to live. And we also have to live a life in such an exemplary way, set out by Acharyas. In one of the previous verses, we were discussing the paper Prabhupada writes, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One needs to give the control of their life to Acharya. One has to be controlled by the Acharya. If we live like that, controlled by Srila Prabhupada and his teachings, then the perfection is waiting for us. And then when time comes for us to leave this body, we will also be able to live in a good disposition of mind, remembering Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhus and Matajis. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. And Krishna willing, see you all this evening. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.